to be a live event, people. We need lights. Where's the light man? Brian, give me a fucking spotlight. All right, let's run through this. Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to witness live television entertainment in front of your very eyes. This is Fame or Shame Live with your host, Laszlo. He does that, and then, shit, ow! And then I run on, and everybody claps, and then I go, it's time to introduce the guests. And then, where's my assistant with the list of guests? Hello? If you pull that pregnancy pity party on me one more time, I will lose my cool, okay? Tony, your friend's here.
All right, thank God. Brilliant, that's a wrap. Piss off, Laszlo.
What?
This is a nightclub. This live version of an awful TV show is not happening.
But Tony...
Oh, but Tony, please, nothing. We have a new landlord. We're going back to what we do best. Playing loud music, encouraging awful behavior, dancing until dawn, and having personal crises like good, God-fearing idiots.
Tony, please, I'm desperate.
Listen, I love narcissism. I built a career on narcissism. I stare into the mirror and beat off like a real man. I pose, I preen, but there's a limit here. I cannot, I will not sit here and watch it. We need kids, young people, midlife crisis divorcees, whoever's gonna bring the party. And we need them wasted, and we need them dancing. Not taking selfies with some fuckwits! I ran the fucking 1980s. I was the 1990s. And I'm back.
Okay.
Get me a DJ!
But, Tony, I'm the DJ.
You're not a fucking DJ. You're a dick.
A dick? But, Tony, I got you a bunch of celebs.
I'm Gay Tony, the Gay Tony. I'm the celebrity here. Me and him. But if you want to bring some famous people into the club, we will host them gracefully. Because I am Favor and Grace, and I am back. I got an investor. We're running shit again. I need a DJ. I've been high since 2010. What do these kids need nowadays? I'm having a breakdown. I'm too old.
Me too. Tony, can we hug?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
You shouted at me a lot.
All right.
And Tony?
Yeah.
I don't think you can say Gay Tony anymore. It's not PC. The internet will go crazy.
Okay, I'll bear that in mind. All right. Find me English Dave.
English Dave?
He's a DJ, the booker. He's in the book. All right, come on, boss. Let me show you around. All right, listen, big guy. Work your list of famous people. We're opening very soon.
Okay, you got it.
All right. I am gonna fix this place up for you. You can do whatever you want down here. Literally, whatever you want. That's a gorgeous space. Plenty of room. Lots of storage. You can set up a hub for your other businesses, maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying. Whatever you need. I know nothing. I mean, I know everything, but make your way through there. We got a computer in there. You can bring another staff down here, your whole entourage, whatever you need. You sure know how to set that up. And upstairs is another office with a computer on the same network. You can run the club businesses out of that. And the interior team ready to move in. Oh, and the name, Masonet Los Santos. Let's go.
Amigo! Que pasa?
Hello, Dave. That's my new investor, English Dave.
Safe skin. Respect. So how you been, Tone? Long time, no power.
High as a kite, Dave, and cursing fate. And you?
Oh, never better, old son, never better. One love. Nose back?
Oh, no, thanks.
Suit yourself. What can I do you for?
We're reopening as a nightclub. A proper underground dance music paradise.
And what kind of crowd do you want in this, paradise?
Don't be judgmental, Dave. We're gonna make this place amazing. I need people, you know, who know music. Club music.
What you need, old son, is a European. Someone with savoir-faire. Someone who can bring in the business. Let me see. No, not him. Not her. To open this dump, bring in a good crowd. Solomon. It's the proper shit. Great music, great crowd, and no cheese.
How much?
Let me see what I can do. Daniel, his manager, owes me a favor. I've got a few other DJ ideas as well. One love.
One love. Well, you gotta get to work. I'll stay here and oversee the improvements. You get us a staff and a sound system. Hey, do you know ritual sacrifice? Festival out in the desert? Gotta borrow some things from their socialist utopia. And staff, I've arranged to poach a few. It's all on the office computer. right. Lift it up. A little bit. Yeah, oh, perfect. All right, come here, look at this. I love it. Masonette Los Santos. What do you think?
I think it's 100!
Oh, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I'm seeing tracers. I am the opening DJ. Get the crowd bumping. Get the millennials boys with the wooka.
Go away.
What?
Go get me some celebrities for opening night. Put them up in the VIP lounge if you have to, but you will not be DJing. Ahem.
My glow stick.
Oh, now, let me show you what we got ready for you. Come downstairs. Now remember, I do not nor want to know what's going on down there. I will plead absolute stupidity. But if you need my help, anytime, count on me. Now, this place is fully operational, huh? I don't do the tax returns, and I don't deal with whatever goes on down here. Now, I'm just a club manager, but if you happen to, say, fill it with some, various products of your illicit businesses, I could probably help you sell them. All right, now, everything else on the computer over there, and in the office. Shall we head upstairs? Here's our private office. The computer where you'll run things, my desk is over here. Hear no evil, see no evil. Good, all right, let's go get a quick drinky at the bar.
Brave, mate. Think of nothing. Absolutely nothing. And brave. Ain't it amazing? Hello, Tone. Sniff.
Ah, no thanks. Hey, baby, 4 shots.
Good news. The big European is on the wing. Private, of course. Spared no expense, as you're paying. Well, it was a cheap plane, but whatever. Should we go and pick him up?
And when you get back, we shall have ourselves a little party.
Yeah.
Here's to Masonette Los Santos.
Yeah.
We'll see you shortly.
You all right, lads?
A little fucked up.
Roger, moi Dave. Where did you find the pilot?
Top of the range he was, son. No expense spared. Come here. I told you you were a miracle worker. Let's go work some more. Twat. Right, driver. Drive on. Let's get to the club. Show him his digs. You alright, son?
To be honest, Dave, that was pretty intense.
That's it, big man. What doesn't kill you, right? I've never been in a plane crash, I grant you, but I've had some bad trips, me, and I always find a spiritual path.
Next time you hire the pilot, see how you like being in a plane crash.
He was excited to see you, Sol. You may have overindulged, is all. You have that effect on people. They get intimidated. Anyway, bygones and all that. Have a glass of wine, put some tunes on, hit a vape. It's legal after all. You'll be right as rain.
No, I'm cool, okay? Excited to play LS.